What's going on, everyone? It's Mike, it's John, back again, and we have been long and lost. You've missed us, I know you have, but we are back for the new show. Yes, people, and this is the news show. Tonight, we talk transfers. John has done some outstanding work today, going through players we've been linked with, possible moves in the market. John's really been digging deep in what we need, and I think it's really important that we look at the situation we're in, if you get what I mean. You know, we've lost a really good midfielder in Mangala. We've lost Calvert-Lewin. So, John, what first of all, what do you want to see in the last 5 days of this transfer window, 6 days, whatever it is?
Well, we need a striker. I think we needed a striker before Calvert-Lewin got injured. But I don't think. I'd be very surprised if we see him in an Everton shirt again. There's £140,000 contract sitting on the table there now. By all accounts, he could be out for anything up to 12 weeks. So I can't see Everton offering him that sort of contract when we don't know what shape he's going to come back in. Mangala, for me, is a massive, massive miss. His season's over. Whether we can come to some sort of agreement with his parent club and, you know, send him back and maybe just do some sort of deal where Ernie comes to Everton with him playing for the same club, and then possibly go in for Mangala again in the summer. The problem you have with that, the injury he's got, some players have recovered from that. It's a bad injury. You know, Ronaldo had the same sort of injury. He recovered from it. But a lot of players don't. I think Alan Shearer had the same injury as well. Massive, massive hole to plug in that midfield for me. I think Mangala, from the first whistle of the first game of the season, being outstanding for Everton Football Club. But so the transfer plan that the director of football and David Moyes had in place, and the targets and how many we needed, dramatically changed after the last game, in my opinion. We definitely need a striker. Mangala, you know, Tim Ibrahimovic back in full training now. Does he come in and sort of plug that gap? We've got James Garner back in full training. He made a substitute appearance the other day. So we have got options in the midfield who are coming back from injury. We're very, very short up front. For me, I'd say we need two strikers because we needed one even when Calvert-Lewin was fit. You can't rely on Beto. By all accounts, he is linked with a move to Torino with a £6 million down payment and then 2 payments of £6 million, which takes the deal to £18 million from what we've seen from various reports. So he wants the move to happen, apparently. But we need two strikers. We needed two strikers when Calvert-Lewin was fit before he got the injury, or at least one. We definitely need two now. So for me, the most pressing place that I want to see transfers done before 11 o'clock on Monday night is up front for me.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're absolutely spot on, and I think we've got issues. You know, Chimiti's been injured pretty much all season. He had a reoccurrence. Brozier got injured after 3 appearances. Calvert-Lewin has scored 3 goals, got injured. Now, don't get me wrong, you know, the whole conversation around youth can be had. You know, there's a young lad in the under-23, he's absolutely ripping it up in Amari Benjamin. We've had young players in the past that have sort of deputised. You know, I remember Ellie Sims coming on against Chelsea and scoring a fantastic goal. But when we're in the position that we are in, going into a new stadium, I think you have to pull the trigger on bringing someone in, and you know, however we do it has got to happen. Now, I was reading some articles earlier, and you know, while I was in the doctors, and there was saying that Everton have got £33 million to spend. If we've got that, why have we waited? That's the bit I don't quite understand. And the other thing I'd mention is, if we've got that type of money, why have we not put more bids in and discuss more options? I saw today, you sent me the link that apparently Everton are interested in Longstaff, £12 million from Newcastle. I from seeing what he's capable of, I think he's a decent player.
For £12 million, mate, £12 million, yeah. The January transfer window for Everton, £12 million it's a big chunk of your budget. Now, where £33.5 million come from, we were having this conversation today, and that probably takes us to the limit of PSR for January. We are still restricted from what we can spend, and by all accounts, we can do a big squad rebuild in summer because we're not sort of restrained by what we can spend. Don't get me wrong, we can't go out and blow 50 million quid here and 40 million. It's got to be done right, and that's what I think we've got the right manager to do it right. The loan deals for us have gone massively tipped up. We've got Brozier, we brought him in. He was already injured. He's now injured again, and we're trying to do a deal with Chelsea to take him back. We've got Mangala, who's injured. He's not going to play. Probably won't play for us again unless we re-sign him in the summer on a permanent. You've got Jack Harrison, who will not be a Premier League footballer as long as I've got a hole in my arse. So there's your 3 loans there out of 4. The only one who's doing bits, and it's only bits since David Moyes has come in, is Jesper Lindstrom. But is he good enough to chip in with a couple of goals? Is he enough to create chances for when we bring a centre forward in? Probably not. We all know, and you quite rightly pointed out on here, a 24-month loan deal for Jack Harrison is a massive mistake. Whoever signed that off needs the fucking heads testing, in my opinion. But you go on about the young kids, and we've got the young kids who you mentioned before playing in the youth level. I think we will see more youth players integrated in the team, probably with 4 games to go, 3, 4, when we know we're safe. I think Everton's really have to struggle now not to be safe if we beat Leicester on Saturday, especially. But it's a massive overhaul needed, and for me, this is a big transfer window. And you mentioned we've got £33.5 million to spend, and why haven't we put bids in? Listen, there's probably, hopefully there's work going on behind the scenes, and it was a bit like when David Moyes was here the first time. His hands were played quite close, his cards were played quite close to his chest when it comes to transfers. And I mentioned it on here the other night. One of the transfer deadline days we had under David Moyes, I think he bought 3 players in, and we just weren't expecting it.
Yeah.
I do think there's got to be some sort of rumours or a concrete offer, or the loan situation sorted out. If we can get Brozier back to Chelsea and we've been linked with Dewsbury Hall, sort that sort of deal out. And people are saying to me, well, just send them back to Chelsea. It doesn't work like that, unfortunately. We've entered a contract with Chelsea for this loan player. We're probably paying a big chunk of his wages. If we just say, yeah, you can have him back, Chelsea aren't just going to bow down to that. Why should they? Why should they? We've took a big chunk of his wages off their wage bill. Why should they take him back? He got injured playing for us. So we are going to have to come to some compromise with Chelsea over that. And if we have only got £33.5 million to spend, and we can't sort any of these loan deals out, that money has got to be spent correctly. And listen, when you need 2, possibly 3 players, we've had people on here and you've said it, and we possibly need a right winger and we need a ball carrier midfield, and now we need 2 strikers. £33 million doesn't get you 4 decent players. It just doesn't. In today's market, especially in the January transfer market as well, where everything's inflated. So we're probably going to end up spending a 12 million quid on a Longstaff. Then we have to sort the loan deals out and get 2 strikers in, whether one's for money and one's on loan. So it's got to be spent correctly. There's not a big pot to burn. It's the loan deals for me. The loan deals have to be sorted out with Chelsea and with Leon and see if we can come to some sort of compromise, because we've only got to send Mangala back to Leon and come to a deal where Ernie comes the other way. We've only got to sort out with Chelsea about Brozier and maybe Dewsbury Hall comes the other way. So, Kevin Thelwell and David Moyes are going to earn their coin from now until 11 o'clock on Monday night. There's been rumours going around that Kevin Thelwell's pulling one way with targets and David Moyes is pulling another way with what he wants in. Listen, one's got a 2.5-year contract and one's contract is up in the summer. I'd like to think the freaking group are going to go with David Moyes and give him what he wants and not what Kevin Thelwell wants.
I think it would be mad not to, and I also think, and I'm just reading through some of the just some of the things really, just going just having a little look, and one of the big things that the big concerns that I sort of have is, we needed reinforcement anyway. And now we've lost two players that, let's be honest, would play every week. Every week, Mangala and Calvert-Lewin would play. Yeah, we need. Does that mean now, weirdly, we need 4 players, not 2? Do you get what I'm saying? Like we've always needed another striker. You rightly said it anyway. We've always needed one. We've always needed a midfielder type player. And we've been linked with them since the start of the window, since before Mangala got injured. So if that's the case, we're going to be thin anyway. So, for me, if Everton have got £30 million, I don't know what the deal is with Chelsea. And I also don't know what the wages are of Brozier. But I would be saying to Chelsea, we'll pay the loan back. And, if we have to substitute some of Brozier's wages, whatever, but bring in a midfielder on loan.
The problem you have, if Everton say to Chelsea, we'll pay the remaining fee for the loan deal, or we'll pay the remaining of his wages, what we agreed on from now till the end of the season, that eats into your £33.5 million transfer budget.
It does, but you're not signing £12 million players.
Oh, no, you're not. You're not. And
a couple of million.
This is what I said to you before. You're quite right with what you point out. Does that mean we need 4 now? In my opinion, listen, I'd love to see 4 players come in. I don't think it happens. I think it's a maximum of 2.
Yeah. Personally,
my opinion. And this is what I pointed out before. The midfield isn't as pressing for me as the centre forward position, because I pointed out we've got James Garner coming back in now. We can always drop Doucouré back if we have to. Wouldn't be my first choice, but that's the option. We've done that before with him. And you've also got Tim Ibrahim coming back in. So you've basically lost Mangala, but you've got 2 players come in, getting their way back to fitness, who we haven't really seen this season. So again, I get what you're saying, but for me, it's up front. And, if it means we're only going to bring 2 players in, then for me, it's 2 attacking players.
Yeah, again, I don't disagree. And this is the frustration. This is the, why waste time signing players like Jack Harrison, who have been a waste of a loan? I just don't get it. And look, let's talk about some of the players we've been linked with. We've been linked with.
Just to add to that, I think if David Moyes is manager of Everton Football Club, you don't get a 24-month loan deal for Jack Harrison.
No, I suspect you're right.
It just doesn't happen. It doesn't happen. David Moyes, it's very rare he will sign a player on loan and then sign him again on loan. The club aren't really in that sort of financial situation now where our hands were really, really, really tied behind our back, where we had to bring the same player back on loan. I'd like to think now with the new owners and the new manager and the financial situation improving, come the 1st of July, basically it's the 30th of June. That's where we've got to be careful too. I'd like to think with everything in place now, Everton won't get their hands burnt by bringing the likes of the Jack Harrisons of this world on a back-to-back loan deal.
Yeah, I also think as well, if we are going to sign players on permanent deals, we're going to be, it sounds weird, but better at it. You know, we're going to throw less money at it. We've been linked with this Marcus Edwards for £12 million in the Premier League now. That's nothing. You know, we've been linked with Longstaff, whether you like him or not. £12 million is not huge amounts of money in the Premier League. So, you know, I'm not against these signings. They just need to work. They need to see us through to the end of the season. And my concern is, you know, realistically, my concern is they get injured, we have a problem, and you fall apart. You absolutely fall apart. And it kind of feels like we have, because we don't know the three that are going to play in the middle on Saturday. We don't know. Well, we do know who's going to play up front, but we understand he doesn't actually want to play for Everton. You know, I take rumours like that with a bit of chalk and cheese, really, a bit salt. But then you come back to the question. So we've got 33 million or 30 million quid to spend. We've had 18 million pound offered for Beto, 6 million up front, and the next 2 years, 6 million pound each year. That all goes in the PSR numbers. So do you sell Beto and then bring in 2 strikers and a midfielder? I don't know the answer this transfer window, and I'm telling you now, I wouldn't want to be David Moyes. I wouldn't want to
the problem we have, the difference with this transfer window and the summer transfer window, the problem we have with having someone like David Moyes as a manager, and it's not a problem having David Moyes as a manager, but I pointed out on here the other week that I read something, and it's very meticulous, is that the word? On players he signs. He goes through their injury records since they started playing football. He goes back to their school days. He looks at his family. He looks at the person's social life. He looks at the player as a person, his mentality, his training regime, how he comes back from holiday, if he looks after himself while it's pre-season. That's all well and good. Come the end of the season, if you're lining targets up for the start of the new season.
Yeah.
The problem you have now, David Moyes hasn't really got that time on his hands, more so now because he's lost 2 players who he didn't really count on losing, as in Mangala and Calvert-Lewin. So he's got to do his homework on the players he wants to bring in and the homework on the targets he's got lined up in double quick time. He's got to be at Finch Farm at 6 o'clock in the morning, mate, till 9 o'clock at night these next few days. If he wants to do the background work that he does on signings he wants to bring in, he's going to have to work double hard and double quick to get them over the line now. And there's probably going to be a few things he misses out just to get bodies. And I think he'll do the important things, Michael, like their injury record and them as a person. It's like you messaged me the other day, for example, you just threw a name at me, Marcus Rashford. David Moyes wouldn't touch Marcus Rashford with a barge pole because his attitude stinks. He's a bad egg. Ten Hag fell out with him. Amarin's fell out with him. David Moyes doesn't sign players like that. I'm just using him as an example because you threw the name at me. But they're the sort of things he looks at when he's doing transfer dealings. And if he comes across a player with the attitude of Marcus Rashford, who's on £350,000 a week, he doesn't touch them.
Yeah, fair enough. Right, let's look at some of the other rumours and some of the other players. So just go back to your fantastic messages today. Just go through them. So Evan Ferguson. I know your opinion on Evan Ferguson. The channel, I don't think do. I don't disagree with your opinion. I just think he needs games. However, is it right to bring him into a club that are fighting a relegation battle?
Well, is it right to bring someone in who's injured or just getting over an injury? You know, I sent you his injury record before. 2 of them are his ankle. 1 of them is his anterior cruciate ligament, and 1's a knee. Now, Evan Ferguson, is he 21? Am I right in saying something like that?
20, but yeah.
That's when you've had 2 ankle injuries. If it's the same ankle at the age of 21, and you've done your ACL by the time you're 21, he could come to Everton Football Club and we could do his training spot on so he doesn't get injuries and get him fully fit and he hits the ground running. But Everton have had their hands burned too many times, their fingers burned too many times with bringing players in who have got a injury record like that. A lot of people I know are going to disagree with my take on Evan Ferguson. That's fair enough. I just think for someone who's 21, who's done their ACL and had 2 ankle injuries by the time he's 20, I just think we've got to be a bit more careful.
Fair enough. Longstaff, I mean, I know I touched on him, but would you be happy with him?
Yeah, I think Longstaff gets into this Everton team. You know, when we've seen him play for Newcastle, when he has played, he's always put solid, concrete, noticeable performances in, you know, and I think he was a mainstay for Newcastle for a good few years. Obviously, the players they've got now obviously are better than him, but Everton aren't nowhere near that level of squad capability like Newcastle are. So I do think Longstaff would improve Everton.
Yeah, I was just having a little look at his stats. I mean, he's got a goal in him. I mean, he's played 18 times this season, and he hasn't.
I didn't realise it was that much, to be fair.
But he played last season 46 times in all competitions and scored 8 goals. Now that was his best season, so it's a bit weird that he's gone from having his best season from a goals perspective to making substitute appearances and not scoring a goal.
Look at the quality in the squad now.
Yeah, so I get that. He is a player that fits the bill, and he is a player that, you know, he's a ball playing footballer, isn't he? You know, like he's 27.
Just coming to his prime, isn't he?
Yeah, he's you know, he's made 150, 170 appearances for Newcastle. So
I think he's a player that improves Everton.
I just think he's a player that might have a point to prove in. You know, I've said this a few times when you sign players like this. It's good because you sign players that have got a point to prove, and you know, this has worked. You know, we had it with Andros Townsend. He was wrote off. He was wrote off at Crystal Palace. He comes to Everton as a free signing. I think he scored 8 goals in his first 12 games or something silly. You know, these players that essentially have got the bit between their teeth and go, right, I want to prove to you that I should have stayed at your club. I don't think that's a bad thing. I think that's a good thing with mentality. I think it's important. He's a player that I certainly would have no problems bringing in. And I think in this Everton team, I think he'd probably do quite well. The only thing that I've sort of got a bit of caution around this midfielder, which is why I'd go more aggressive on a striker, is we have got James Garner and Tim Iroegbunam coming back. And I think they're both good options.
For the money we've got to spend, and there's more, as I said before, there's more parts of the squad and the first 11 that need addressing. If you're going to bring a player in like Sean Longstaff, when you look at the players who are out of contract in the summer, I think if it was me personally, obviously it's not up to me. I'm not a Premier League manager or a director of football. Not that ours is very good, but I think Sean Longstaff, in my opinion, could be one for the summer. I just think for now, we've got enough in midfield, where, as I said before, Garner and Tim coming back.
Our problem is nobody wants to buy our players. I mean,
I'm not being funny, mate. There's 12 players out of contract and 4 players on loan going back. So we're not going to get nothing for them anyway, but it's a big chunk off the wage bill. You look at the 12 players who are out of contract. We done a video on here the other week, I think, and I think we come to the conclusion there was about 1 or 2 who we'd re-sign, and Garner Guy was one of them. So Sean Longstaff, for me, if a deal was to happen, I would gladly take it in the summer, because we're going to need numbers in the summer. We're going to need a massive squad revamp, a rebuild. And I just think at 27 years of age, for 12 million quid, I think he'd be okay for us. I think he's a Moyes signing him.
Fair enough. We've also been linked with, and I'm not going to get the last name correct here, but Hamza Igamain, I think it is, from Rangers. He's looked good this season when he's played. He scored 9 goals, I think it is, in 20 games. He's looked very... It's actually 13 in 27. He looks very decent. I can only compare this to one other signing we've made from the Scottish top flight in terms of, in January, needing a striker, and that was Nikica Jalovic, and he was, for the last end of that season, unbelievable. I don't necessarily think this lad is the same, but would you be happy with him?
But the thing is, it's going to be hard to go and find another Nikica Jalovic and just come in and hit the ground running like that. I think he was we've had another striker who come into the club and just hit the ground running. It was fantastic. Practically kept us up single-handedly in Kevin Campbell. So we do sometimes pull a rabbit out the hat. But the problem I have with signing players from up there, and if anyone who supports Rangers or Celtic or anybody else, no disrespect, but compared to the Premier League, it's an easier league. You might be okay up there playing against the likes of Hibs and Arbroath and Elgin City in the Cup or what have you. He might be brilliant against them. It's a completely different kettle of fish down here. But if he could be another Nikica Jalovic, mate, he's powerful, he's strong, he's good in the air, he can take people on, he's fast. He's got an eye for the goal, as you've just said with the stats there. Got all the attributes for what we've been crying out for seasons now. For the size of him, I think he would be okay in the Premier League. It's how quick he settles. And this is why I think the likes of David Moyes, if reported to be believed, wants Premiership quality strikers with what I'm looking for. What's the word I'm looking for? Where they've played in the Premier League before. Premier League experience. That's what apparently David Moyes is looking for in the strikers. That's probably a Kevin Thelwell one. It's an option. It's an option, isn't it?
I'm going to throw a name at you then.
From all accounts as well, Rangers want big money for him.
Yeah, and I get that. I'm going to throw a name at you. He's been injured the majority of the season, but he's a player that I've mentioned time and time again. Callum Wilson.
Again, you're going down the route of injury-prone players, aren't you?
We beggars can't be choosy, mate. That's the problem.
Is he injured now?
He is injured until the first week in Feb. So next week he'll be back.
I'm pretty sure Callum Wilson has been on the verge of coming back and then broke down again. a couple of times leading up to this. If Callum Wilson can come back into into the fold. How old's Callum Wilson? Is he 31?
32.
32? Could be an option in the summer, mate. Premier League experience, can score goals. I just think, again, with his injury record, mate, we can't afford to bring players in who are injury prone, because whether it's on loan or whether it's for a small payment, we need goals now. We need goals now to get ourselves safe. And I just think we need to be bringing strikers in wherever they're playing, who are 100% fit, ready to go straight into the team. Whether you've got Premier League experience or not, we need it for the here and now, not bringing players in. He's been out for quite a while. He comes to Everton, transfer deadline day. You're probably looking at 2 or 3 weeks before he's fully fit.
So the reason why I mentioned Callum Wilson is I'm fairly sure he's going to be leaving at the end of the season. Calvert-Lewin's also leaving Everton at the end of the season. And we also know that both clubs, Newcastle like Lewin, and I think Everton would be... I think Callum Wilson's a good player. I know he's had his injuries, but I think he's a good player. And I still, to this day, think if he plays as many games as Lewin does this season, he scores at least double the amount of goals. Because
all day.
So I actually have no problem making a small bid for Callum Wilson and almost saying to Newcastle, look, Lewin is now leaving for nothing. He's not going to sign a new deal by the looks of it. I don't. I think Everton could be a bit bullish and go, tell you what, there's 5 million quid.
Here's one for you. Bring Wilson in for 5 million quid. Do some sort of deal. And the lad from Rangers is 100% match fit. Callum Wilson's probably 2-3 weeks away from being ready to be even thought of to be on the bench or whatever, with match fitness and all that. Would you be happy with them 2 strikers?
Yeah, and to be honest, I'd be that bullish. I don't think I'd have an issue letting Beto go either.
Leaves you with 1 striker though until Wilson's fit. And what happens if he breaks down again?
But then you're still going to have only 1 striker. It's just what we've got at the minute. And Schmidt is coming back this season.
Yeah.
But I just think... I think Everton could do a lot worse than bringing in 2 strikers, letting Beto go. Lewin's injured anyway. I think Everton could do a lot worse than that. You could do a deal with Newcastle, Longstaff and Wilson. If they want 12 for Longstaff and 5 for Wilson, 17 million quid, you've got 2 players off the wage bill. We know that that's not going to be an issue for us in the summer. It gives us an opportunity to rebuild. Callum Wilson's not costing you mega money. You've got at least 4 or 5 years out of Longstaff. You've probably got 2 years out of Wilson. We'll be in a financially better position. So in 12 months' time, we can go and buy, a big name striker, someone like, Erling Haaland, for example. Someone,
we could have had him.
Yeah, we could have, yeah. Go and sign a striker. And I just think it solves an immediate problem. The other option is obviously that Lewin stays and he signs a new deal, but I just don't see it.
If Lewin signs, it won't be on the terms that are on the contract now.
Well, it shouldn't be, should it? It shouldn't be. You score 3 goals in 20-something odd games this season. I'm sorry, it's not enough. And I know he's injured and all of that, but it's not enough. And just when he started to look like he was getting good again as well, which is frustrating. So that's my take. If Everton did sell Beto, I would hope we got two strikers and a midfielder. If there's money to play with, if there's a transfer of Beto, etc., that's what I would want. The whole talk about Ben Chilwell, anyone else, I'm not too fussed about. Everton need 2 strikers and a midfielder if Beto leaves. If he doesn't, we need 1 striker and 1 midfielder minimum. Because we needed that 29 days ago.
Yeah. I just think 29 days ago, there wasn't this manager in, was there?
This absolute legend that is La Davide La Moisia.
Brilliant.
Right, that is all. It is a late video, guys, so I do apologise for that. It's my fault. I've been at the doctor's, unfortunately. Yeah, I will keep you updated if and when the end is near. But we're fighting. We're fighting. We're trying to get better. Make sure you hit the like and subscribe button. Make sure you go and follow John on TikTok because he's doing quite well. Everton John. I think it's Everton_John, isn't it? So go and find him on TikTok. His logo is a picture of the Everton badge. So go and find him. Go and watch his content. Like it, comment. That's really important on TikTok. And we will see you tomorrow for the match preview. Is that right? Yeah, tomorrow. Honestly, my head's everywhere. Tomorrow for the match preview, guys. Anyway, up the toffees. Keep smiling.